Commander Marcus Foster gripped the arms of his command chair as another blast rocked the USS Defiant. The holographic display showed 3 Xerxian warships closing in on their position near Saturn's rings. Shields at 42%. Lieutenant Rodriguez called out from her station. "We can't take much more of this, sir." Marcus ran his hand through his graying hair, mind racing through tactical options. The Xerxians had appeared 6 months ago, attacking human outposts without warning or attempts at communication. This was humanity's first real contact with alien life, and it had immediately turned hostile. "Bring us about, full power to forward shields," he ordered. "Ready all remaining torpedo banks." The massive battleship wheeled around, its nuclear engines flaring bright against the darkness of space. Marcus had fought in countless simulations, but nothing compared to real combat against an alien force with technology decades ahead of Earth's best efforts. A new contact appeared on the tactical display, larger than any Xerxian ship they'd encountered before. Its hull was covered in strange, crystalline growths that seemed to pulse with inner light. "Sir, we're being hailed," Rodriguez reported, surprise evident in her voice. "It's coming in on all frequencies." Marcus straightened in his chair. This was unprecedented, the Xerxians had never attempted communication before. "On screen," he commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing the bridge of the alien vessel. Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. Standing there was a tall, humanoid figure with silvery skin and angular features that were somehow both alien and hauntingly familiar. She, and Marcus was certain it was female, wore ceremonial armor that seemed to be made of the same crystalline material as her ship. "Commander Marcus Foster," she said in perfect English, her voice carrying both authority and something else, recognition. "I am War Leader Kthara of the Xerxian High Fleet. We have much to discuss." Marcus fought to keep his expression neutral despite his shock. "You know my name." "I know far more than that," Kthara replied, a slight smile playing at her metallic lips. "I know of the classified experiments conducted at Ganymede Station 5 years ago. The ones you were part of, though your memories were altered afterward." The blood drained from Marcus's face. He had gaps in his memory from that period, his superiors had told him it was from a training accident. "What are you talking about?" "Our species had made contact before the current conflict," Kthara continued. "A secret program to study compatibility between our peoples. You volunteered." She paused, her expression softening slightly. "What they didn't tell you, what they couldn't tell you, was that the experiment was successful. More successful than anyone anticipated." Marcus felt a creeping sensation along his spine, like ice water trickling down his back. "What are you saying?" "You have a daughter, Marcus Foster. A child of both our worlds." Kthara's words hit him like a physical blow. "She is 5 years old now, and she needs her father. The prophecies speak of a bridge between our species, one who would prevent the coming war. We didn't understand then, but now it's clear. Vlera is that bridge." The bridge of the Defiant fell silent. Marcus's mind reeled with implications, fragments of memories starting to surface, a research station, silver-skinned figures, Kthara's face younger and unarmored, looking at him with something more than clinical interest. "This is impossible," he whispered, but even as he said it, he knew it was true. The gaps in his memory, the strange dreams that had plagued him for years, the inexplicable sense of loss he could never explain, it all suddenly made terrible sense. "The time for secrets is over," Kthara declared. "Our species stand on the brink of mutual annihilation. But there is another path, one that begins with a father meeting his daughter for the first time." She extended her hand toward the screen. "Will you help us change the future, Marcus Foster?" Marcus stared at the alien woman who had just upended his entire world, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear, confusion, and something else, hope. The fate of 2 species hung in the balance, but in that moment, all he could think about was the daughter he never knew he had. "Tell me everything," he said. Marcus sat in his quarters aboard the Defiant, staring at the holographic data crystal Cthara had provided. His head throbbed with fragments of returning memories, each one hitting him like shrapnel from an explosion he hadn't known had gone off. The crystal projected images into the air before him, medical records, research notes, and most devastatingly, images of a small girl with silvery skin and his own deep brown eyes. Vlara. His daughter. A chime at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called out, not taking his eyes off the projection. Admiral Richardson stepped inside, his weathered face grave. "The Joint Chiefs are demanding answers, Marcus. Half the fleet is in uproar over your private communication with the Xerxian commander." "Her name is Cthara," Marcus said quietly, still watching the image of Vlara. The girl was playing with some kind of crystalline puzzle, her face scrunched in concentration just like his did. "And everything she told me is true. I remember now." Richardson sighed heavily. The Ganymede project was never supposed to come to light. It was a diplomatic initiative, an attempt to understand their species better. The genetic compatibility was unexpected. Marcus turned to face his superior, anger flaring. "Unexpected? You knew about my child and kept it from me?" "Kept her from me?" "It was deemed necessary," Richardson replied. Relations with the Xerxians were deteriorating. There were hardliners on both sides pushing for war. If word got out about successful human-Xerxian hybridization. "So you erased my memories? Abandoned my daughter?" Marcus stood, fists clenched. "Not erased, suppressed. And Cthara agreed to it. She understood the political situation." Richardson's expression softened slightly. "She protected Vlara, raised her in secret among her own people. Even there were those who would have seen the child as an abomination." More memories surfaced, Cthara and him in the research station, talking for hours about their respective cultures, the gradual shift from scientific curiosity to something deeper. The joy and fear when they discovered she was pregnant. The agonizing decision to separate. "Cthara mentioned a prophecy," Marcus said. "About Vlara being some kind of bridge between our species." Richardson nodded. "The Xerxians have precognitives among them. Years ago, they foresaw a child of both worlds who would prevent a catastrophic war. We thought it was superstition. But now..." He gestured at the tactical display showing the standoff between human and Xerxian fleets. "Now I'm not so sure." Marcus accessed another file on the crystal. It showed Vlara's genetic analysis, a perfect fusion of human and Xerxian DNA, something that should have been impossible. Yet there she was. "She's breaking through the memory blocks," he said. "In my dreams, I hear her calling for me. Cthara says she has abilities beyond either of our species. Some kind of telepathic potential we don't understand. Which makes her dangerous to those who want this war," Richardson warned. "There are factions in both governments who've invested too much in conflict to back down now. If they learn about her..." "They already know," a new voice said. Both men turned to see Cthara's hologram materializing in the room. "Vlara's powers are growing. She can no longer be hidden. There was an attempt to take her today." Marcus felt his heart clench. "Is she?" "She is safe, for now. But we must act quickly." Cthara's image flickered. "Marcus, she needs you. Not just as protection, but to help her understand her human side. The prophecy speaks of balance, she must embrace both halves of her heritage to fulfill her destiny." Richardson stepped forward. "The Joint Chiefs will never authorize." "With respect, Admiral," Marcus cut him off, "I've lost 5 years with my daughter because of political considerations. I won't lose another day." He turned to Cthara. "Where do I need to go?" A slight smile touched Cthara's metallic lips. "The coordinates are in the crystal. Come alone. There will be those who try to stop you." "Let them try," Marcus said, already planning his departure. He'd dedicated his life to duty, to following orders. But now there was something more important, a child who needed him, and perhaps the fate of two species hanging in the balance. As Kthara's hologram faded, Marcus caught a glimpse of emotion in her alien eyes, hope, fear, and something else that stirred more buried memories. Whatever lay ahead, he knew his life would never be the same. The shuttle dropped out of FTL drive near Jupiter's orbit, its stealth systems masking it from both human and Xerxian sensors. Marcus checked the coordinates again, his heart racing. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space ahead, his daughter was waiting. A massive shape materialized from the darkness, Kthara's command ship, the Crystal Sword. Its crystalline surfaces refracted starlight in mesmerizing patterns. As Marcus approached, a docking bay opened like a flower blooming in space. "Incoming vessel, you are cleared for landing," a voice said in his mind rather than over comms. The telepathic contact was jarring but somehow familiar. The landing was automatic, his shuttle guided by unseen forces. As the bay repressurized, Marcus saw Kthara waiting with a small figure partially hidden behind her ceremonial armor. His legs felt weak as he descended the shuttle's ramp. Kthara stepped forward, her expression softer than during their previous holographic communications. "She's been waiting for this moment her whole life," she said quietly. And then Vlara stepped out from behind her mother. Marcus felt tears well in his eyes. She had his curly hair, though hers was silver white, and his square jaw. But her skin shimmered with the metallic sheen of her mother's people, and her eyes held wisdom far beyond her 5 years. "Father," she said, both aloud and in his mind. Her voice was like chimes in the wind. "I saw you coming. In my dreams." Marcus knelt down to her level, not trusting himself to speak. She reached out and touched his face, her small fingers cool against his skin. Images flooded his mind, memories of her growing up, watching recordings of him, asking Kthara endless questions about her human father. "The bad ones are coming," Vlara said suddenly, her face growing serious. "They want to stop us. Stop the peace." Kthara's hand went to her weapon. "We've been traced. Both sides are converging on our position." As if to confirm her words, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Marcus straightened, military training kicking in. "How many?" 3 Earth destroyers, 2 Xerxian warcruisers. Kthara's expression hardened. Hardliners from both sides working together. They'd rather have war than risk the prophecy coming true. Vlara gripped both their hands. "We have to show them," she said. "Show them what we can be together." The ship shuddered as the first weapons hit its shields. Marcus looked at Kthara, seeing his own determination mirrored in her alien features. They had both been warriors, defenders of their respective peoples. Now they had something more precious to protect. "The prophecy speaks of unity," Kthara said, leading them toward the bridge. "Vlara's power is growing, but she needs both of us to help her channel it." Marcus felt his daughter's hand tighten in his. More memories surfaced. The experiments on Ganymede hadn't just been about genetic compatibility. They'd been studying the potential for human Xerxian psychic resonance. "I remember," he said. "The 3 of us together, it creates something new. Something powerful." They reached the bridge as another blast rocked the ship. Through the crystalline viewport, Marcus could see the attacking vessels moving to surround them. "They're charging weapons," one of Kthara's officers reported. "All ships targeting our engine core." Vlara stepped forward, placing one hand on her mother's combat interface and reaching the other toward Marcus. "Help me show them, Father. Help me show them the future." Marcus took her hand, and Kthara completed the circuit. Power surged between them, a fusion of human intuition, Xerxian psychic ability, and something entirely new. Vlara was the conduit, the bridge between worlds, amplifying and transforming their combined energy. Light exploded from the crystal sword, engulfing the attacking ships in a prismatic display. And in that light, Every being on every ship saw the same vision, a future of cooperation, of shared discovery, of peace. The weapons powered down. The comms crackled to life with voices from both fleets, shaken and transformed by what they'd witnessed. Marcus held his daughter close, feeling Cthara's hand on his shoulder, knowing that this was just the beginning of their journey together. The crystal sword's meditation chamber hummed with energy as Vlara sat cross-legged in its center, her silver skin glowing with inner light. Marcus and Cthara watched as their daughter accessed the ancient prophecies stored in the ship's crystalline memory core. "There are things hidden," Vlara said, her voice echoing strangely. "Truths the precognitives didn't want found until the right moment." The chamber's walls shimmered, displaying scenes from centuries past. Xerxian seers, their bodies transformed by their visions, recording predictions in crystal matrices. Among them was an Earth woman, her presence shocking both Marcus and Cthara. "Impossible," Cthara whispered. "No human has ever." Her name was Rachel Solomon, Vlara said, reading the history written in light. "She was taken by the Xerxians 300 years ago. They found she had the gift. She saw what was coming." The images shifted, showing Rachel working alongside the Xerxian seers. Her predictions, combined with theirs, painted a devastating picture. Two civilizations rising among the stars, their paths destined to cross, their differences driving them to mutual destruction. "But she saw another way," Vlara continued. "A joining of bloodlines, of minds, of souls. A child born of both worlds who could bridge the gap." She opened her eyes, which now swirled with cosmic energy. "Me." Marcus stepped forward. "The attack on our ship, the hardliners, they've seen this too. They've seen fragments. Enough to fear what's coming." Vlara rose, suddenly seeming older, wiser. "The prophecy isn't just about preventing war. It's about the next step in both our species' evolution." The chamber filled with new images, human and Xerxian DNA strands dancing together, forming new patterns, new possibilities. "Apart, we're incomplete," Vlara explained. "Together, we can become something more." The hardliners fear this change. They'd rather destroy both civilizations than allow it to happen. Cthara's hand found Marcus's in the darkness. "This is why they erased your memories, why they tried to keep us apart. The power in our bloodline is just the beginning," Vlara finished. "But I can't do it alone. The prophecy speaks of three becoming one, father, mother, child. Human, Xerxian, and the bridge between them." She held out her hands to both parents. "Will you help me show them the way?" Before they could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple vessels emerging from FTL," a voice announced. "Earth dreadnoughts and Xerxian world breakers. They're charging weapons." Marcus looked at the tactical display with horror. These weren't just warships, they were planet killers. The hardliners had decided to end the threat of change once and for all. "They're afraid," Vlara said softly. "I can feel their fear. Fear of losing who they are, of becoming something new." She turned to her parents. "But we can show them it's not an ending. It's a beginning." Cthara activated her battle armor, its crystals pulsing with power. "How?" "We're outnumbered, outgunned." Vlara smiled, and in that moment she looked so much like both of them, Cthara's strength, Marcus's determination. "The prophecy doesn't speak of a battle," she said. "It speaks of a transformation. We just have to be brave enough to take the first step." Marcus looked at his daughter, this miracle he'd only just found, and made his choice. Whatever came next, whatever transformation awaited them, he would face it with his family. He took Vlara's right hand as Cthara took her left. The chamber erupted with light as the enemy fleets opened fire. The combined firepower of two civilizations' most powerful weapons converged on the crystal sword. But the energies never reached their target. Instead, they were caught in a sphere of prismatic light emanating from the ship's heart, where three figures stood joined in body, mind, and soul. Valera's power, amplified by her parents' connection, transformed the destructive energy into something new. The light spread outward, engulfing ship after ship in its radiance. Within that light, every person, human and Xerxian alike, experienced the truth the prophecy had foretold. They saw the future, cities where both species lived together, their differences becoming strengths. They saw children like Valera, carrying the best of both worlds within them. They saw scientific discoveries, artistic creations, and spiritual insights that neither civilization could have achieved alone. But more than visions, they felt the change beginning within themselves. The light awakened dormant potential in human minds while stabilizing and focusing Xerxian psychic abilities. The transformation Rachel Solomon had foreseen centuries ago wasn't just metaphorical, it was biological, psychological, and spiritual. When the light faded, the weapons had powered down. The combined fleet hung in space, forever changed by what they'd experienced. On the Crystal Swords Bridge, Marcus held Valera as she recovered from the enormous effort, while Cthara received communications from both fleets. "They're standing down," she announced, wonder in her voice. "The hardliners, they're requesting to open diplomatic channels." "They understand now," Valera said softly. "They've seen what we can become together." Marcus looked at his daughter, seeing not just a bridge between worlds, but a doorway to a future he'd never imagined possible. "What happens next?" "We build," Valera said simply. "We learn. We grow." She took both her parents' hands. The prophecy wasn't just about preventing war. It was about showing both our peoples that we're stronger together than apart. In the months that followed, the crystal sword became a symbol of the new era. Cthara and Marcus worked together, using their military experience to coordinate the peaceful integration of their civilizations. Research teams studied Valera's unique genetics, learning how to safely guide the gradual transformation of both species. More human Xerxian children were born, each carrying the potential for bridging worlds. Valera helped them understand their gifts, while her parents ensured they had the support their daughter had initially been denied. One evening, Marcus found Cthara and Valera on the ship's observation deck, watching Earth and the Xerxian homeworld's first joint colony being constructed on Mars. The red planet was being transformed by a combination of human terraforming technology and Xerxian crystal architecture. "Having regrets?" Cthara asked as he joined them. Marcus watched their daughter pointing out constellations to a group of mixed-species children, her silver skin glowing with starlight. "Only that I missed so much time," he said. "But we have the future." "A future neither of us could have imagined," Cthara agreed, her hand finding his. Valera turned to them, her smile containing all the hope of two civilizations. "The prophecy spoke of an ending," she said. But really, it was just the beginning. Above them, the stars shone on a galaxy that suddenly seemed full of endless possibilities, as humanity and the Xerxians took their first steps together into a shared destiny that would change them all. The war that never was had given way to a peace that would transform both worlds, guided by a child who carried within her the best of both her peoples. And somewhere, in the streams of time, Rachel Solomon's spirit smiled at the future she had helped to create.